Hi, you guys. So I had to do a Next Gen NYC catch up for all of us. There's been a lot of stuff happening. It's not that I haven't seen it, just I haven't had time to report on it with everything else going on. There's a lot happening everywhere in lots of categories. I'm like, I want to cover so many things. All right, so let's get into it. First, I want to talk about what Queens of Bravo dropped I think a day ago or something. Let me show you it and then let's start here. Shout out to Queens of Bravo. She or he has been in this racket for a really long time. I remember when I was on the show Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, this account reached out to me and said, follow me, I have great content on Bravo. And I was like, yes, I will. And now she gets a lot of scoops. So I think she's or he's, got some inside track to stuff. I think Bravo sends this account things, which is great for them. They've been around for a while. They've earned it. Anyway, he or she wrote, breaking, Next Gen NYC has begun filming for season 2. There might be a major cast exit along with new cast members and Charlie will return. Now, this was very surprising to my patrons, including Reality Diamond Freddie. Hi, Freddie. We just did a show together. It dropped yesterday, part 2. It was really fun. And he was saying it doesn't make sense to me that Charlie's coming back if he's not at BravoCon. I kind of feel like he would be there with all the rest of the cast if he was coming back. But then this gets announced. So let's talk about this for a second. As you guys know, I dropped 2 other YouTube videos on Next Gen NYC. One in which Charlie seems to be doing crack with a bunch of friends. And then, of course, I did a deep dive on the cryptocurrency scandal. These were the crypto kidnappers, John Wöltje and Duplessis out of New York City. Well, Duplessis was out of Miami, but you get the drift. Anyway, Charlie was friends with John. He went to his townhouse quite a bit, and it's believed that his involvement in this was he was helping John get model girls to come over to the townhome to, I don't know what, party with them or whatever, and also maybe helped to concierge some of the partying that John did as far as clubs are concerned. That Charlie was photographed, of course, the day that John is actually arrested on these charges for kidnapping. Now, his defense at the moment's kind of funny. He says that he was hazing this Italian crypto millionaire that he was trying to get his crypto password off, and that's all. So in other words, part of his business network, if you want to be involved, you have to be hazed like a fraternity house. But that's his defense at the moment, and that it wasn't torture, and he wasn't trying to get the password from this guy to repay himself millions, which this guy allegedly, in his eyes, either took from him or, deserved to give up to him for some reason that he validated in his mind. So recently, on August 1st, just so you know, John Wöltje walked free. He got bond finally. He had been at Rikers Island for 2 months and he paid it, and he's out now preparing for his case. As a condition of his bail, Wöltje will be subject to home confinement and electronic monitoring. He can only leave his home for doctor's appointments, to meet with his lawyers, or for emergencies. Funny enough, after all the smoke settled, the NYPD was having to take cops that were involved in the investigation off this case because they found out one detective was acting as security for John Wöltje to such an extent that he was the one, this NYPD cop, was the one that drove the Italian guy who ends up getting kidnapped and, hurt or whatever over time to try to get his password, that a cop actually drove him to the condo when he first arrived from the airport under a different guise than NYPD, instead security officer to Wöltje. So this is a real conflict of interest. In addition, another NYPD cop that was somehow involved in this investigation was moonlighting for Wöltje as well, doing something for him. I don't know, a fixer or what. They didn't disclose that one, which should really make your ears perk up. So there's that. So now Charlie was the real reason I think a lot of people watch Next Gen NYC, and it was a #1 show. So it's not shocking, since he wasn't charged with criminal charges, that even with all of this scandal, he was asked to be back on the show, because frankly, I think Bravo was like, he's a must-have. We got to get him. And they probably paid him a lot of money to come back. And I'd say that's all that really spoke to him at this point. Charlie's made it clear that he sees himself as like a real New York kid. New York kids are snobs, take it from me. I, was there from 6th grade until 9th grade in Manhattan, in the thick of all that, going to Nightingale Bamford. So Charlie looks down on Bravo and the community. He does, and he doesn't want to be associated with it in that way. He wants to be associated with the New York, club kid, New York scene, okay? And that's what he's about. And so it's no surprise to me that he's still coming back to the show, but he didn't want to go to BravoCon because he didn't want to hang out with a bunch of fans. Like, to him, that would be like beneath him and stupid. Okay, so that's that in a nutshell for me. Now, the bigger concern, of course, are the hot girls on the show, like Ariana Biermann and Ava Dash, etc., safe around this guy who was peddling women to this sicko crypto guy. And I guess the answer to that is probably not, but hopefully they watch my videos. So let's now jump to what's been going on with Ariana Biermann, building up to them starting to film the show, because quite a lot has been put on her channel. So first and foremost, on October 13, 2025, Ariana Biermann suddenly posted this on her Instagram. Hudson and I have decided to go our separate ways. While these things are never easy, we both know it's what's best for us right now. We are so grateful for all the love and support you've shown us over the years. Sometimes life takes you in a different direction, and that's okay. Love you all. To which Hudson McCleroy said this: I feel like everyone deserves to hear both sides of our story. I still and always will love Ariana. She's been there for me at times when I couldn't be there for myself. I still have a lot of things I need to heal from and deal with on my own to become the person I truly want to be. I appreciate all of the love and support everyone is showing us during this difficult time. So he posts this right after on the same day. And then Ariana Biermann posted that she's moving from her apartment, which she shared with Hudson. You would know this if you saw season 1. And she's moving out. Let me show you a clip.
Is moving day. Again, I'm moving into my own apartment. I'm going to bring you guys along the process. I'm using Roadway. Of course, again, they made my last move so smooth and so easy. First ever apartment in New York City. I'm the sole person on the lease. Really excited. Also a very bittersweet thing. Obviously, there's a lot we need to catch up on. That's for a different day. Today, let's move with Roadway.
So Ariana Biermann obviously made that into an ad to help her afford her move. Now she's moving into her own apartment in New York, as you heard. They have started filming, and as a result of that, they're going to be covering the winter holidays. Now, Gia Giudice had said production intentionally shifted season 2 to the winter because they wanted to see that season in New York for everybody, not the same season as they did before, because obviously the content's going to change with the holidays and all of that. So I think it was a good idea. So that's it. Gia's coming back, obviously, and I think the entire cast is now coming back. So allegedly someone quit. I wonder who. This is where the fun begins. You tell me who quit and why. And then also let me know what you think broke up Ariana Biermann and Hudson, considering, his family is the Zaxby family and he stands to inherit, over like $100 million. So he's quite the catch. And she's known him for a long time. So it can't be just some bullshit that they broke up over. It has to be something really intense, because otherwise, like a betrayal or something, because otherwise she would never leave this guy. So something really big happened here. Now, jumping back to Ariana Biermann, allegedly Kim Zolciak might be making appearances or becoming a friend of on Real Housewives of Atlanta, although this rumor has been going around for years. She's suddenly re-involving herself in BravoCon, which may be as simple as she made some appearances on Next Gen NYC, so they wanted her to be there. Or it could mean that everybody's gossip is correct about Atlanta and she's going to be coming back in some capacity. But this is what Ariana Biermann said about her mom on her social media to do, which we've heard before, about Kim kind of pushing on plastic surgery or medical spa treatments on her young girls before they were maybe ready to make these kind of decisions.
My makeup, whether it's like a full face, just like a little bit, I always put on freckles. Every time I do it, it makes me think of the fact that I would not be putting on these freckles had my mother not have gotten rid of my freckles when I was 14. My mom sent me to get a facial. And I was like, okay, going to get a facial, whatever. And my friend's like, girl, where are your freckles going? I'm like, what are you talking about? Facial girl's like, your mom told me that you didn't like them and you wanted me to remove them, like with the facial, lasering them off. What? I love my freckles. Well, I have some on one side of my face more than the other. Still just not a lot at all. So now I put them on. I was on the phone with my mom the other day and she just started laughing. It's like, you're a jackass. Like, now I add them onto my face because I don't have them anymore because somebody removed them. I didn't want them removed. Nobody said. Literally nobody said. So now I'm constantly stamping them on and trying to make them look even just remotely like what mine looked like growing up. I miss my freckles. But Mom, you're a jackass for that. I love you, but insane.
Now, while we're on the topic of Kim Zolciak, let me just share something that came out. This guy's wife, Kyle Mowitz, suggested in court documents that back in 2021, he was buying really lavish gifts and trips for Kim Zolciak. This is when she thinks the marriage started to decline, and she, I guess, blames Kim Zolciak on that in a way. Let me just show you the kind of words on this. So Jillian Green, who's his soon-to-be ex-wife, believes that her husband is hiding his money in a $100 million trust where he does loads of transactions. And she wants to understand better this really strange relationship between Kim Zolciak and her husband, where he seems to be taking her on trips and buying lavish gifts for her and also giving her loans. And so she's requesting the following in a subpoena, which Kim Zolciak is saying is oppressive and she shouldn't have to answer. This is what she's asking for. Green has subpoenaed Zolciak, requesting communication and financial records between Zolciak and Mowitz. Specifically, Green wants information regarding any gifts, payments, or loans involving Mowitz and Zolciak, details about expenses for travel, lodging, and other trips involving the two, communications between Zolciak and Mowitz, as well as between Zolciak's estranged husband and Croy Biermann and Mowitz. Now, she is saying that she thinks this affair may have happened in and or around, if it is an affair, 2021. So that's interesting. So let's not forget that in August of 2022 is when we first realized that there were problems with Croy and Kim. And he did soon after that allege that Kim Zolciak had done infidelity during their marriage. So I think this wife is trying to figure out if her man was cheating with Kim Zolciak in 2021, when they start having financial problems, it's becoming apparent they're not going to be able to keep the house secretly, like no one knows yet. And then she's kind of looking for her old way, maybe a sugar daddy backup plan, I'm thinking. So that's all speculation, but there it is. And I think this wife is speculating the same thing, that her husband was like a sugar daddy to Kim Zolciak during the ending. And I think Croy thinks so too. So Ava Dash also had a really rough last 6 months since she was on Next Gen NYC. She got evicted from her $10,000 a month Manhattan apartment. Apparently, her dad was, I guess, organizing the rent payments on this house, and she had roommates, and I guess the rent was going to him, and then he just didn't pay it for a few months, and so they all got evicted from the property. Damon Dash, it turns out, has been broke. He's got something like $20 million in tax liens. All the stuff he was presenting on the show was false. This is no surprise to people who are familiar with Damon Dash and his antics over the years. He's been, a very messy father, to say the least. He didn't pay child support when she was young. Anyway, they did their best to kind of, I guess, reinvent him currently, but it all went to shit when he got famous again. So here's a breakdown of his financial woes, just so you know how much he lied on the show, pretending that he was going to open, a fast food restaurant of some sort. I can't recall the theme of it, but yeah. Also remember, Kim Zolciak still owes $1.8 million in back taxes, and make note that a bankruptcy, which Damon Dash is trying to do, and which Kim Zolciak has played around with, none of that gets rid of tax liens. Okay, it only gets rid of creditor debt. So here we go. The largest of the federal tax liens was filed in New York for a total of $6 million, of almost $7 million, according to records filed on April 15th of 2022. That tax lien accounted for money Damon allegedly owed the IRS for tax years 2006, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 19, and 2020. A second smaller federal lien was filed in New York for $251,154.21, and that covered money allegedly owed to the IRS from 2020 to 2021. A third federal tax lien also filed against the Rockaware co-founder in 2022, but filed in California, was almost $5 million. So the total of the three federal tax liens is close to $12 million. Meanwhile, it was previously reported that it's not just Uncle Sam who's had his hand out to Damon for taxes owed. New York State also claims it's owed $8.7 million in back taxes. In November of last year, the Empire State purchased Damon's 1/3 share of Rockefeller Records for $1 million at auction, with hopes to flip the shares to pay off his state tax debts and to also recoup an additional $193,000 in unpaid child support. And yes, he's still not paid his child support. But that's not all. In April, the music mogul was ordered to pay a default judgment, meaning he didn't appear or participate, of $4 million after claiming on a podcast that movie producer Josh Weber and others stole from him during their work together on the flick Dear Frank. The judgment was entered after Damon failed to file an opposition to the suit in Central District of California. He also owed a $823,000 judgment in a previous ruling over Dear Frank, which according to various outlets, he was ordered to sell several assets just this week after failing to pony up that money. Thank God Ava Dash's mother has a business that does well, and hopefully Becky will, be making an appearance on Next Gen NYC, and we can get rid of Damon because he's gross. Just my opinion. Speaking of Beyonce's Becky, let's jump to Riley Burruss, because she announced her boyfriend, this guy here, who we don't know his name yet, after attending a concert that Beyoncé had with him. Funny enough. Anyway, they've known each other a while, and I have a feeling he's going to be coming on the show. They've been together officially as boyfriend-girlfriend for a few months, and she seems to be very happy with him. But she's trying to keep her private life private, so we'll have to see, does he make little bit appearances? Does she do like Ava does and keep her boyfriend completely off the show? Because Ava has a boyfriend like the whole time she was on Next Gen NYC that we don't see. Or, will he become a new cast member? So you guys let me know what you think in the comments. She's been living her best life with her mom. They've been doing all sorts of really fun, public appearances together and stuff. So she's doing well. So Brooks is coming back on the show. He's still developing his fashion line. His mother, Meredith Marks, has this big plan to launch a giant lifestyle brand, which is what she's working towards. And all of what she's doing, including the DJing, plays into that. Brooks' company that he's developing on his own for fashion is no different. Now, it might surprise you to know that Brooks was recently accepted as a Ford male model, and he's been modeling now for them, which is one of the top modeling agencies in New York. Gosh, forever, since I was a small child. So that was a big score for him. He modeled a little with them when he was younger, but to be fair, the stakes are a lot harder to get them to represent you as like a young adult than like a kid. So this was quite impressive that he got listed with them, and we'll see how it goes, and it will give him great contacts in the industry because of his ties to Ford, because most of the runway models, etc., are with them. Meanwhile, Brooks' dad has started a new job position. He's left Big Lots. He is now working for GA Group. He started in March of 2025 as SVP, Head of Wholesale Solutions for them. he's helping companies monetize inventory through their global disposition network. He does growth, restructuring, and transformation with expertise and turnaround management and extreme value merchandising. So he's still in the merchandising business, which explains, why this family promotes so much, right? Seth's like kind of behind that, right? That's his expertise. So there's that. Now he's going to be spending time in Utah. And of course, they, I think, have a location in Palm Beach as well and New York. So, I guess he's going to be spending a lot of time in California too now. So Georgia McCann announced that she had an eating disorder and nearly died from it this last year. She got down to 88 pounds and she's finally regained, her control over this very awful disorder. It's, you see yourself in her case heavy and you're super skinny. So it's really damaging. Anyway, she's been talking about that lately. So I'm sure it'll come on the show. Of course, we already know from my previous videos that Omar turned out to be, a real shyster and essentially abandoned Georgia McCann in Singapore. And she ended up moving out of his house. Anyway, I'm paraphrasing, but he was a dirtbag. So thank God he's gone. That's just my opinion. But he was a dirtbag. And so she's now single, and we'll have to see how that goes. But I'm glad she got control of her eating disorder. Gia is still with Christian. She's been doing loads of extra stuff. She's got a podcast now that's successful. She's been on Special Forces, where she spilled a lot of tea about how she felt about her mother going off to prison and how it put all the responsibility of being like a parent onto her. And she got a lot of PTSD from it. And she feels like she needs to caretake her mother, Teresa. And so, the guys pointed out on Special Forces that in a way it was good that Teresa left the show because she was holding Gia Giudice back. And so we see Gia kind of last a little bit longer without her mom, Teresa, although you can tell she missed her. And she continues on. But I suppose we're going to be seeing her talk a little more publicly about how all of this, impacted her, the jail and everything. Gia needs to show some more intimate stuff about her because she's probably the weakest cast member on Next Gen NYC, surprisingly. It's like it's been really all about her kind of acting as a mediator around these people and having strong opinions maybe about things they do. But as far as getting to know Gia any better, we haven't seen it. And so I think they're going to try to get that out of her this season if Special Forces is any indicator. How do we break it to her that it wasn't the taxes that did the prison? Oh, well, we'll just let that be the story for now. You guys probably saw that already, but I thought we might archive it in this video. Why not? As always, I'll have the time codes in the description of this video so you can go back and refer to them as needed in the future. All right, you guys, like and subscribe, and thank you for watching and promote and boost and all those fun things so I can make money. Bye.